Good evening, and welcome to Let's Talk Shop with Russ. I'm Russ, and my dedicated panel is with me tonight, always smiling and having a good time. We should have a great time tonight. We're going to do part 3 with Charlie on the veneering, so I'm looking forward to that. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to invite Mr. Al Forte to join us, so he answered me back on a PM, so I just sent him the link so we can get him on here. I don't know if Charlie and Russ will be able to make it tonight because of the hurricane. I mean, both of them are somewhat involved in that area. I know Charles is a lot to the north of where it came in. So mostly what he's going to do is maybe get some rain and some flooding if he gets that. The last time I saw him PM or say anything, he was okay. Russ kind of skated by in the beginning, but Russ is to the east of Corpus Christi where that thing come on land, and it's Al moved east. So I don't know how Russ Meadows is doing. Hopefully him and his family will be all right. And then the rest of them, a lot of the rest of them, actually I think Russ, speak of the devil, here he is. I was just talking about you.
I heard you.
Yeah. So I'm glad
the devil can do that.
I'm glad you're okay and safe and sound. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. I got Al Forte coming in, and there'll still be room for Charles if he comes on. So, but anyway, so good. Russ is here. So I think Charles and the rest of them should be Michael Chipster, and all of them are kind of up north and out of the way.
They're up higher, but they're going to catch a lot of rain.
Yeah, just a lot
just like we are.
Yeah, that thing was nasty, dude. It came in as a Cat 4.
I know. It wasn't expected to be anywhere as near that, and all of a sudden, wham.
Yeah, that coast is going to take years to it will never be the same, but it's going to take years to recover.
Now, that little town that it came across Rockport, it totally flattened it.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
Yeah, when you're looking at winds 135 miles an hour, and if you're on the coast within the first couple of miles, there's nothing going to stop that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on the outer edge of that at this point, and we're expected to get a lot of rain for the next week. Is solid rain. Yeah. But it's probably will turn back around on itself and go back out into the Gulf, and then start heading north or coming my way. But it won't be as it is now. Right. Yeah, tropical depression maybe.
We've actually had a small low, upper level low sit above us, and I was telling those guys before we got on the show that what's happening is that the rain will come where I'm in Central Florida, so the rain will come across me. It'll go out in the Gulf. It'll go south, go back in around Fort Lauderdale and Fort Myers and Miami, circle back around, come across me, go back down the Gulf. It just keeps on going around and around and around. This has been doing this for the last 2 or 3 days. So I'm like, but the day was the worst. I mean, from the time I drove over in the rain, although the rain was kind of like a sprinkle this morning to teach the class, and then I drove home bad. I mean, some of it was we could only run 35, 40 miles an hour on the interstate. It just got so heavy. Yeah, that's when I
hate it when it's like that.
Yeah, I get in the right lane so I can have plenty of room to run out if I need to get away from all these idiots. So, but
yeah, I've had them.
Glad you're all here and we're all ready for the show. Like I said, we're going to have Charlie tonight, and we're going to go back over the last of the series of veneering. He's going to be showing us how to attach veneering to the substrate, and also, if we have enough time, he said he'll show us how to repair some veneering. So Nelson Wooden Treasures is out there. Patrick, hey, Patrick, how you doing? Patrick's Workshop's out there. Katie Dotson, as always, one of my favorite people. Tommy G. Woodshop. Hi, Tommy. I hope you're doing good. Jeff Robinson, Ken McCrory. Glad to have all y'all out there. Inspired Woodworks. So all those people are over in the chat, and I'll all right, Paul, you've been wanting a job, so you can be my chat monitor tonight. So You can watch the chat, and if we have questions, hey, yeah, Tommy G says, hey, Russ, hey, how you doing, Tommy? I hope you're doing better. He got in a nasty car wreck here. It's been a while, but let me tell you, he flipped his SUV like 3 times or whatever, so it really bummed him up. So it's taking him a while to recover. All right, so I know who we're missing. We're missing Chris Ahern.
Chris is on date night tonight.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah, he's got a date night. He said earlier.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Well, I was gone, so I missed that. All right, so let's go down. First, before we do anything else, let me quick thing. We're pallet challenge. Pallet challenge is still running. I think Wednesday is the last day. I believe Wednesday is the 31st is the last day. So you only got a few more days. Actually, no, the 31st is Thursday. Okay, I thought it was Wednesday. So the 31st is Thursday. So you only got a few more days. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. 5 days, not including today, to enter. So you better get off your butts and get out there and get that pallet project finished. So that's, yeah, I'm trying to think there was something I was going to say about that, but all right, I can't remember anything. So, and there's a lot of great prizes up available, including Sterling has put up he's going to have his Founder's Choice Award, which is $100 on top of whatever you could win. So in other words, technically you could win one of the great prizes, like a $50. There's a couple out there, 2 or 3 out there, like $50 gift certificates. You could win one of those and then turn around, and Sterling liked your project so much he could turn around and give you another $100. So it's really, really good. So a few more days to enter. Midnight, the 31st is when the thing comes to an end. And then my sponsors, Devobal Technologies, web design, development, hosting. Go to devobal.com. They do my website. Really great guys. I mean, I couldn't say enough about them. They're so great. When I have problems, I messed up my own website a while back, and I mean, I messed it up. And I was trying to add some sponsors, and they went in there and fixed it for me. So really great guys. And they laughed when I told them. I said, I think I screwed up, guys. And they were like, you did? What'd you do? And I said, well, half the stuff's not there. I don't know what I did with it. So they were like, no way. And they went back and said, wow, you did mess it up. So they were cool guys, and never complained or whatever. They just fixed it for me. And then FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Great people. I can't say enough about them. And then Rockler Woodworking and Hardware, create with confidence. They have a lot of cool stuff there on their site. And last but not least, Bearwood Supply Company. Go to bearwood.com. They have a lot of great stuff on there. They have the Pegasus scroll saw blades, which the other night I tried them for the very first time. They have clock parts. They have all different kinds of hardware and stuff on their site that you can go over and look at and buy some of it from them, guys. Get some of this stuff. So I appreciate all my sponsors and everything. I guess right now the next thing we need to do is go down the list, and we'll Charlie, I'll let you be last since you're actually going to be the guest. So we'll start off with I was going to start off with Russ, but he's blocked out. So I'll start with you, Al. You're first on my left.
Cool. Hey, Al Forte, Odessa Woodworking on YouTube, Facebook, Odessa Woodworking. Mine's kind of a maker shop. It's just for fun. Anyway, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Have fun.
And then next is Miss Donna Presley.
Hey, everybody. Donna Presley, Donna's Witten Art, Facebook and YouTube, and glad to be here.
Okay, good. The reason I'm laughing is because I just read something over the chat while you were introducing yourself, and Jim Bashir put over there, if we can't tear a pallet down, can we use the footage from last year?
seems like he asked that last week, and we said, you don't ask, we don't tell.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you just hadn't said anything and used the stuff, we probably would have never known, but now we all know. So, yeah, so your answer is no, you can't use it. Jeez. You should have just not said. It's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission sometimes. You haven't learned that yet, Jim? So anyway, then Mr. John Schaffner.
Good evening, everyone. Russ, thanks for having me on again.
You're welcome.
And you can find me on Facebook under my name and my rather abbreviated YouTube channel. I think I have 4 videos, but I haven't put anything up in months. So you've probably already seen it if you have. So back to you, sir.
All right, cool. Katie Dotson said some of the pallets she's talking about, the ones she got are 14 foot long, others are 10. Holy crap! Where are you getting your pallets from? I don't think I've ever seen a 14 foot long pallet. That's a big pallet. Wow. Next is Jamie Page.
Hey, I'm Mike Psychic. You can find me at JP Woodwork or Twitter and Instagram at JP_Woodwork. Beedo.
And then next is Michael Murray.
Hello, my name is Michael Murray. I'm with Mighty Mike's Woodshop. It can be found on all social medias under Mighty Mike's Woodshop.
Okay, I got to turn this thing on then, because if we're going to go that direction. All right, hold on. There it goes. Well, we had a lot of fun last night on Charles's show. All right, so and then Mr. Paul.
Yeah, I'm Paul Corliss from Paul's Messy Workshop. That's Paul's Messy Workshop on YouTube, on Instagram, paulsmessyworkshop.com on the internet. And I appreciate you having me on, Russ, and I understand that I'm going to be the big prize winner in the pallet upcycle challenge.
Sure, whatever you say.
Oh, I'm going to win. I'm going to win.
I'll agree with it, because it's the thing about it is it's a random drawing, so everybody's got a chance. So the next is Mr. Russ Meadows.
Hey guys, Russ Meadows from Rusty Nails Woodshop. Y'all can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and even smaller YouTube channel than John Schaffner. So Rusty Nails with a Z.
Great. Katie says, I haven't seen them yet. They're listed on Craigslist, and how do you get a 14-foot pallet in a home in a bed of an 8-foot pickup truck? You let the others, 6-7 foot hang out the back. Let the tailgate down, let it hang out. All you got, anything in Florida, anything over 4 foot past the bumper has to be red flagged. So,
or you can take a chainsaw with you.
Yeah, take a chainsaw and just saw it.
Make it 2 7-foots.
Yep, throw it in there. So there's a lot of ways you could do that. I had my brother, just real quick. My brother we had to order some pipe one time, and it was like 16 foot, and that's the only way we could get it was 16 foot. For that particular size and what we wanted and the pricing. So what I did was I have one of the little Honda portable generators, the EU2000. I took that and I took 2 or 3 blades and my Sawzall, metal cutting blades, and they brought it all out there in the forklift. And he goes, "Well, what do you want to do with it?" I said, "Just put it in the bed of the truck and let it hang over and whatever. We're just going to cut them all off." We used to sit there and cut them all off and put them in the truck. So worked out perfect. All right, so Billy McCord's out there. Dave Gatton, hi Dave Hart. They're all out there watching us. So very, very, very good. So, all right, guys. Tonight's the last and the final episode. I mean, it's not like he can't never come back, but it's the final thing on the veneering. This has been a 3-part series, and I really appreciate you, Charlie, coming back and doing this. I've learned a ton of information, a wealth of information. Matter of fact, they were talking about veneer. Somebody come up and asked something about veneering today, and I was able to answer the guys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was able to answer that question from what I'd watched you do, and on the show and everything. Yeah, he come up there, and I'm not really a supposedly salesperson on the floor, but we were taking a break in between these. It's a 4-hour class, so about every hour I let them take a 5 or 10 minute break in case they want to get some water or go to the bathroom. And during that break, I'm standing there and a guy come up and ask me a question. So I was like, "Hey, you know what? I know that. Charlie showed me that."
All right.
So, all right, Charlie, we're going to present you and take it away.
All right. Well, thanks, Russ, for having me on again. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. My name's Charlie Kocourek. You can find me, I'd like people to find me on my website, which is jackbench.com. But I'm most active recently on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook under Charlie Kocourek, and also under Jack Bench Woodworking. And like Russ said, this is the third one of my veneering demos here on Russ's show. And I'm going to flip the camera down right now, and I hope you can still hear me with the microphone with the camera pointed down. But I'm going to show you what we've got. So this here, there we go. This is a piece of veneer that I put together on the previous shows here. It showed how I cut this and how I do the miter joints on here and how I cut these little thin little strips, and showed how I do the book matching. So tonight I'm going to show you how I would glue this down to a panel. I'm actually going to glue it down to a panel. So let me readjust the camera once more. All right, now you can see what's going on here.
Oh yeah, you put us on the roof.
Yeah, you're on the roof. So what I got a piece of plywood I'm going to put this onto, and plywood is an okay substrate for veneering. It my first choice. Believe it or not, MDF, as bad a rap as it gets, is a better choice because it's more stable and it's actually flatter. But this is some nice cabinet grade plywood, and this will work just fine.
So you don't, when you're using, you said the MDF was your first choice. So the water soluble glue that you're usually used to,
yes,
it's not going to mess with the MDF in any way.
Works just fine.
Works just okay.
Yep, never had a problem.
Cool.
So I've got, like I said, I got this piece of veneer that this panel that I put together previously, and whenever you put veneer onto any kind of a substrate, especially a thin substrate, I guess if you had something a foot thick, it'd be all right. But you always want a veneer on both sides, something on the back and something on the front, because otherwise you can get an imbalance and your panel can warp. And that's why plywood always has an odd number of layers in it, and so if you add another layer on just one side, now it's not right.
Right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So so what I'm going to do, I'll talk you through it here first, and then I'm going to do it, because once I get started, I got to move pretty to get the bag going. But I'll talk it all through first. So I'll do both halves at the same time. I'll spread my glue on the back, and I'm going to use a paint roller to do it. And I've used this many times. It's as hard as a rock, and it works pretty good now. There's other kinds of rollers. People use these rubber rollers sometimes. I'll show you. I cut these grooves in this one because when it was flat and solid, it didn't work too well. But I cut these grooves in here, and now it holds more glue, and I can get a pretty good thing.
That's pretty cool. How'd you cut them in there?
I took the roller off, and I put it in my vise, and I took a little saw, and I just kept going around cutting grooves in it.
Cool.
And that's something I'm doing. I'm just starting to experiment. And actually, I took a class with Michael Fortune a few years ago, and he suggested this. I haven't tried it, but I've got just a plastic spreader here.
Yes.
With the teeth on it.
Yep.
And what Michael Fortune says is he's got one that's just perfect, and he spreads the glue on with that, and he always gets the right amount. And it's really critical that you don't get too much glue on underneath your veneer, because if you get too much, you can get a bubble under there, and then you got another problem to deal with. But I'm gonna use my my old standby tonight. But this is something to think about. And what I did, I tried it once and it worked okay. And I took and actually sanded the teeth down on it, and I tried it again. And I want to make sure, I want to get shoot for what is the best amount of glue, and maybe I'm going to go to this someday. But right now, I'm still using a roller.
Yeah, you can find. I've seen those in Home Depot. That other blue store that I don't like Mitch talking about. They're readily available. Yeah, I've used them before too, and they work very, very well. Not for veneering, but I have used them to spread the glue before, and they work really good.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's one of the things they're made for. And the other thing is, when I'll put the glue on, I'll put the veneer on, and then I'll put a thin caul over the top of it too. So I got this thin 1/8" plywood I'm going to put on there, and that just helps to make sure that the pressure is distributed evenly. And you would think, it's counterintuitive really, you would think that I'm going to use a veneer bag and you're going to get atmospheric pressure is even, so you would get even. But a friend of mine who is really a world-class veneer guy, he says you just have a few less problems if you use the caul. So I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do right now, because you have to cut these to fit every panel you're doing. You can't have it too small, and you don't want it hanging over the edges either, is I'm going to throw a little wax on the side here, so that'll keep the caul from getting stuck on the panel, because the glue will frequently, it'll come right through the veneer, right through the pores of the veneer. And it's not like you did anything wrong. That's just typical. It happens. But I don't want the caul to get glued onto the panel. So I'm going to throw this wax on here. And you guys smell that right through the camera?
Yeah, I tell you what, that stuff it's so cheap, but it has so many uses.
Yep.
I mean, I use it on my wooden drawers that I hand make, that I don't have the drawer slides where the wood rubs against wood. I wax them with that stuff, and they slide. I mean, they slide beautifully.
Yep, you're right, Russ. This stuff you can use it for all kinds of stuff.
Use it on your cast iron, keep it from rusting. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
So I just throw a little wax on there just to be on the safe side. And then I got a little tray with my glue in it. And this roller, well, this roller doesn't fit, but this one fits in there nicely. And then I've got, I think I showed you this previously on the other shows, but I got this vacuum bag here.
Oh yeah, is that the one you homemade?
No, this isn't my homemade one. This is one I actually got this at a sale, an estate sale. Unfortunately, us woodworkers aren't getting any younger. And so this is much nicer than the one that I made myself. It's more pliable, and I get a better seal on it, and it's large. So yeah, there's different grades of these. There's vinyl, and then there's I think this is some kind of polyurethane. I don't know, but it's nice and soft and pliable, and it's really easy to use. And then to close it up, you got this piece of plastic tubing, or looks like a piece of pipe, with another piece of plastic that just kind of snaps over it. And you snap that over the vinyl, and that'll seal it.
Cool.
And then trying to point my camera over there outside the door. I push my pump out the door, and you see the pump sitting on the floor over there in the doorway?
Yes, I see it.
Yeah, well, that's my vacuum pump. And when I start it up, it's noisy. So after I get it started, I'm going to close the door.
Cool.
And I got to let it run absolute bare minimum of 20 minutes. 30 is better, probably optimal. But I'm going to shoot for 25 minutes or so, and we'll see how it looks. I'll take it out, and that way I can pull it out of the bag, live on Russ's show.
Live on Russ, yeah.
Live with Russ.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna get rocking and rolling with this.
Now, do you have to thin down the glue at all, or?
No. And you know, there's a dozen different kinds of glue that you can use. There's this cold press, tight bond cold press veneer glue, and this stuff is actually a higher grade. It's got some fillers in it, and with the fillers, it's less likely that the glue will seep up through the veneer. And then it's also is a harder, crisper kind of a glue, and it dries off as the regular glue is. But to tell the truth, I usually use the regular glue, and I don't have much trouble. If I was doing this stuff is more expensive, and so I just usually use regular glue. If I was doing a real special project, I would probably use the more expensive glue. And there's all kinds of other glues. I could spend a half hour talking about them, but not going to do that today. So with my panel, I got this other stuff that I put together. This is some, I don't remember what this stuff is, but it's real pretty. But I will always spread the glue, or if I remember anyway, I'll spread the glue and apply the backside first, because once this veneer gets wet, it can start to move on you, and it can move just like that. So you got to move fast, and yeah. So if I have any problems, I'd rather be on the backside than on the show side.
Jim Dockrell wants to know if you've ever veneered with hide glue.
I have played with hide glue a little bit. In fact, I used, this is a sample I did with hide glue, and the cool thing about that is you can veneer over curved surfaces, because when you use the hide glue, the veneer gets real soft and wet and pliable, and you can roll it around a curve like this, and if you notice, this is curved, against the grain. It's normally hard to roll it that way, but it's so soft with that hide glue, I could roll it right over there. So I have played with it a little bit. I've never done a whole project with it. A buddy of mine had some. We were just experimenting one day. So anyway, I'm going to get going. We'll put some glue on here. And like I said, you don't want to get too much glue. That's a real problem. And
it's like anything else. Once you do it long enough, you get an idea of how much.
Yeah. You've done it a few times, and it's easy if someone has showed you. Which, actually, what's kind of fun? I've actually been teaching veneer classes lately.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun. I'm going to do some more of them. I started out, my shop isn't that big, and so I said I limited it to 2 guys. So I had these 2 guys come, and we've been having a lot of fun. So I put that on there, the back side, and I'll take the waxy side here, and I'll put that down, flip it over. Yeah, I'm going to do some more of those classes, only the first one was just to kind of get my feet wet with it and make sure I knew what I was doing. And
right.
I had 3 2.5-hour classes, and I realized that, I probably should have made them longer. I think I should have probably 4 or 5 sessions to really give the guys time to practice and show them, everything that I want them to learn.
Right. That's kind of the problem I'm having with my scroll saw classes, and they're
4 hours isn't very long.
Yeah,
4 hours isn't very long.
Actually, it actually is. It's I could cut it down to 3 hours, because most people after the 3rd hour actually say, "All right, I've had enough. I'm taking my project with me and going." Yeah, because the first hour is nothing but lecture. In other words, I'll talk to them about blades,
Right.
Wood, all the stuff, how to set the saw up, all that stuff is covered in the first hour. Then the second hour is we actually start practicing scrolling and everything. So by the time they hit the third hour, they're actually scrolling a project.
Oh, okay.
And so after they've scrolled it, it's like, all right, I've had enough.
Jeff Robinson wants to know how much is the right amount of glue and what should it look like, about what it looks like there?
Yeah, it should be a fairly thin layer of glue. If you go on Joe Woodworker's website, the way he describes it is you should be able to just barely read a pencil. If you have pencil writing on it, you'd still be able to read it, but just barely through your layer of glue.
Okay, that's a good. So in other words, if you scribbled some information on there and then covered it, if you could just barely see that pencil mark, you could. So, all right,
Yeah.
all right,
That's what he says. That depends on what kind of roller you're using too. Like for example, if you were using the glue spreader, that wouldn't work.
And then you don't need glue on both pieces. There's enough glue just on the substrate.
Well, actually, that's a good point. I got to move my computer here. Heck, whoops. You always put your glue on the substrate. You never put your glue on the veneer itself. And that gets back to, like I said, about how once the water-based glue hits that veneer, it starts to move. It'll expand and contract and move and warp and all kinds of stuff. I forgot to mention earlier that I always put a towel or else some window screen or something over the panel when I put it in the bag. And that helps to distribute the air across the panel when the vacuum is running.
Now, or when you normally do this and you're in your shop and you just put that all together, you don't have to be in a big hurry, do you?
Oh yeah, I'm always in a big hurry.
No, that's not what I mean.
You got to do it fast.
You do?
Once you start spreading the glue, it's showtime.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, I thought you could kind of be relaxed because I noticed you're in a hurry, but I thought it was because we're on the show. But you actually
once you start spreading the glue, you don't want to waste any time.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Hey, just so you know, Charles Deering just entered the chat.
Who's that guy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
This is the fun part.
We already got a Charlie on here.
I got no excuse. I laid down at noon and now I'm here awake. I don't know what the hell happened. Sorry.
That's no problem.
There you go.
Hi, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
I like watching that.
Yeah, that looks cool. I like that.
Sucks that thing down.
Just that quick, huh?
Yeah. That looked cool. It did.
Now that puts atmospheric pressure on it, so about 15 pounds.
Hang on, guys. My computer's sitting on the floor. I can barely hear you.
Yes.
Let me move this thing out of the way.
Actually, Paul, what it does is it sucks all the air out of it. So, yes, atmospheric pressure at that point, 14.97, I think it is.
Yep.
Collapses the bag around it. I think a perfect vacuum can only reach like 23 millibars or something like that. 23, 24. It's
29 something.
Is it 29 something?
Yeah,
I was talking
29 point, I don't know what.
Yeah, it's
30, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. Is with your vacuum, how much vacuum do you really need for it to work? Because you don't always get a really perfect seal, and you know, you're using a maybe not the best, highest quality pump. You just want something that works, and you don't want to break the bank. But if you've got 22 inches, that's usually enough. I got a fairly nice pump, an old refrigeration pump. I'm getting like 28 now, and that's excellent. That's for veneering purposes. That's good.
Right. Yeah, because like I said, you can't. There's it's almost impossible to pull what they call a perfect vacuum.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Especially in our, like, even when I'm doing the vacuum chamber for stabilizing wood. I
Yes.
can only, I've noticed I can only hit about 25, 26.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And that's plenty for veneering too.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, since we're doing that, and I'm going to stop presenting you, so that we can all, the panel can, or they can all see my beautiful panel, along with everybody. But yeah, that's great. We know. So this has got to sit in there for like 20 or 25 minutes.
Yeah, I give it at least 25 minutes, and if you can go a little long until 5-10 after, we can pull out the bag.
Yeah, we'll do that. That's no problem.
Okay. And then if you like, I can do some other demonstrating stuff, talk about other veneer stuff in the meantime if you want.
Sure. Sounds good. I just don't want to forget. I forgot to do an announcement. Let me make this announcement now while we've got so many.
Sure, go ahead. Your show, Russ.
Well, I did.
Your show, man.
I forgot all about this, and that is while I got everybody out there still, and they haven't bailed out on us, is I started a new venue, and that is over on Twitch TV. And I forgot all about this in the beginning. I was, my drive home in the rain, like, you get really tense. Matter of fact, I think there's probably impressions of my fingers in the steering wheel coming home when you're in 4 or 5, 6 lanes of traffic and it's pouring down rain and all these idiots are flying by you, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I started a new venue on Twitch TV.
Okay.
And what that is on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Twitch TV. And that is, you just type in Twitch in your Google and you'll find Twitch TV. I'm starting, it's Simply Wooden Creations over there. And I'm going to do Scrolling with Russ. And what I'm going to treat that is, it's going to be almost like scroll saw classes. Every week, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and we'll talk about a different subject. It's all going to be based on scrolling, and it's like I said, I'm going to basically teach it as scroll saw classes. So I'm going to I envision this in the future later on down the road, where I'll actually post a pattern on my website the week before. So in other words, this week's scroll saw class, maybe I'll say, hey, there's going to be a pattern up there on my website. Y'all go ahead and download it, get prepared for next week, and then the next week's scroll saw class will be on cutting that pattern. So if you have video or internet capabilities in your shop, you can actually scroll along with me. And if not, it's recorded onto Twitch TV, and also I'm thinking about uploading it onto YouTube so that you can have those. If you can't, you can actually watch it.
Well, I remember you said on your premiere show that it only stays on for a certain amount of days because you're not at a certain level yet. So that would be another reason.
Somebody told me that wasn't true, and I'm like, well, everything I read, it tells me that if you're not a premium Twitch or something like that, remember, it only stays on there for 14 days. So the first 14, and I don't know if that's true or not. I'm going to find out, but. So if it's only there for 14 days, I will what I'm going to do is transfer it from Twitch over to my YouTube channel. And so it won't be lost. And I'm also recording it onto my computer at the same time, so it's definitely not going to be lost. But so that after the 14 days, if somebody stumbles across it and says, hey, I would have loved to have watched that show and scrolled with Russ that night, well, guess what? You can go back and play the recorded version of it and still do it. So it's a new venue. I've got a lot of good responses. I am totally shocked. I had 24, 25 people watching me live that night, which I never expected. And then I've already got over, I think last time I checked was 300, close to 300 views on the show.
And that's weird because you spelled scrolling with Charlie wrong.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Jeff Robinson wanted to know if a Harbor Freight pump could be used. I don't mean to jump subjects back to the beginning.
Yes, any vacuum pump can be used. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
So,
yeah, any vacuum pump. You don't need a high CFM. You know, you just need something that'll pull a good vacuum. They got some really, really inexpensive ones on Amazon. It's just amazing. Like 50, 60 bucks, you can get a vacuum pump now. Yeah.
So that, yeah. But anyway, so join me over Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, onto Twitch TV. And we will have a scrolling alert. You might just learn something. And if you're an advanced scroller and I'm going to be covering subjects such as Intarsia later on down the road. I mean, the gamut, I mean, the sky's the limit is what we can do. We might get into making bowls with a scroll saw. There's so many things we could adventure out in there and do that. It's going to be fantastic. All right. So now you said, what in the world have you got? Is that
this is Zippy.
Oh.
He snuck in the door, and I thought, well, he's here. I might as well let him be on TV.
Is that long hair?
Yeah, yep. Anyway,
that's a beautiful dog.
Yeah, he's pretty, very pretty.
Oh, he's a good guy. He's my pal. So, anyway, I got a couple of.
Oh, while he's doing that, here we thought Texas was going to wash away. We barely had drizzle all day. That's all it's done all day is drizzle. So, and I think the storm almost completely missed Russ Meadows.
Yeah, it didn't quite miss me. I'm still under the rain. I got rain for several days left.
Yeah. So I think we're both probably going to get flooding. I'm sorry, Russ. I didn't know you were on the panel. I've been on the watch page. Yeah, I was watching the radar. No, it was Brian Gidney that was being missed. It was way above him. But he might be getting rain too. But so I think most of us Texans thought it was going to be a lot worse. But I know the ones right there on the coast probably got it pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay. So what I got here is this piece of veneer. It's hard to see a little split, but it's really common. You see this little split here?
Yep.
Okay, it's really common for you to, when you buy your veneer, you get it, you open it up, and it's got a split in it like that, and sometimes it's even bigger. And you think, well, it's ruined. What am I going to do? I got garbage. No, it's not true. You can actually fix this pretty easy, and this is my favorite trick for veneering. It just it blows me away every time I do it, but it actually works. So what I do, I take a knife, and you always do this. This is when I say you want to cut on the back side of your veneer. This is a really good example where you absolutely want it. So we'll just flip it over and say, okay, this is the back side here. And what you can do, I'm going to try and get this as close as I can, and if it goes out of focus, I'll pull it back. But I don't know, is that focus still? Yeah. That looks all right, I think.
Yeah.
So, but what I can do, maybe not, is I better pull it back. Sorry, guys.
Well, it's focused right there.
Yeah, it goes.
I put my hand in there, it messed it up though.
Yeah, it goes in and out of focus, which is normal for webcam. So.
Yeah. So anyway, what I can do is I can actually, you know, you talk about a board stretcher.
Yeah.
Actually, I know how to stretch boards. So you can come up on the backside, and you just real carefully, you just put your knife in there, and you just kind of, when you put the knife in, it opens it up, and it moves the veneer just a whatever thousandth of an inch or whatever it is, I don't know. So you just put these little tiny little knife cuts in the back side here, and you kind of move the knife around as you're doing it. You do it on both sides. Like that.
It's almost closed already.
Golly.
Golly.
Who'd have thunk it?
I don't funk very well, so.
You can just keep going. Go out a little further. So do it on both sides. Oops, now I had a piece jump out on me. That's no good. Well, yeah, sure. Like I said, live. It happens when you're on live, right, Russ?
Oh, yeah.
I had a piece fall out on me. There's that little tiny bugger.
If it's going to go wrong, it will go wrong when you're live.
Well, actually, you know what? I forgot something. That's probably why I'm having problems. You take a piece of your blue tape and you put a piece of tape
On the back side.
on the face side before you get going, which I forgot to do. You got the tape now on that little cant. If I can stick it back.
Okay, you put the tape on first before it kind of like.
Yeah, I should have put the tape on first.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, is a more expensive pump, does that draw more air, or is it really one pump is every pump?
I like Russ said, you know, you can get by with a pretty inexpensive pump.
Cool. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, a vacuum pump is a vacuum pump is a vacuum pump. I mean, I do agree that there's some out there that are going to last a whole heck of a lot longer and be a whole heck of a lot better. But there comes to a point that they will only do so much. And you don't need in a perfect vacuum for what he's doing or for stabilizing wood or anything. You just need a good vacuum pulled. So the Harbor Freight ones will work great. I've got a friend of mine that does air conditioning, and he has went to the Harbor Freight vacuum pumps for years, and he says he don't have any problems out of them. They work great.
Robbie Sidney is saying I use a travel iron and bit on a napkin soaked in water. I guess that's for the. I'd have
to fill in that,
obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's now I got that. I screwed up a little bit. I lost that piece, and I stuck a piece in that doesn't match. Then you take some white glue, and you just rub some glue in there. And in the perfect world, you put some tape on the back side, and you let that sit for, you know, hours.
Right.
And what'll happen is the water in the glue will swell the fibers up, and it'll, in the little, you know, gaps, it'll push it together. Right. And it dries at the same time and hardens. So if I take this off in a couple hours, then I'll have a really good repair. But I'll show you right now. I'll take it off the front anyway, and I'll just show you.
Yeah, you can't tell.
You can see that where the glue, the reflection where that glue was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. That like I said, that's my favorite, one of my favorite tricks for fixing veneer.
Yeah, Rob Snyder said something about using the iron and water. That will work too. But also he had a good point, and I've done that before too. If you have a ding in a piece of wood that you've sanded or whatever, and you actually drop the tool or whatever and put a little ding on it, you can take even a home iron and put a wet cloth and take that home iron and steam that area, and that water will go into that ding and actually fill the fibers up and make it swell, and the ding will disappear.
Okay, Russ, you're banned from the next show for taking my job.
Sorry.
If you saw my show last night, that's why it's funny. Anyway,
well, you weren't saying anything, so
I was waiting for the right time.
I thought Paul was doing that job.
Well,
No, Charlie can take over.
Well, while I was sleeping, yes.
Yeah.
My wife, I know this is sidetrack. My wife came in there and said, "What time is Russ's show?" Because the last time I woke up, it was 5 something. I said, "I still got some time." So next thing I know, my wife's waking me up, and I'm going, "Oh crap, Mr. Dependability." Okay, back to you.
So tonight I'm the assistant to the assistant moderator.
You're the cuckoo host.
Kenny Dodson said you're supposed to use spit on dings.
And the name was Robbie Sidney, by the way.
You show us your vacuum bag. You're the one that you made when you're done.
Yeah, I'll show you that right now.
I didn't want to interrupt what you were doing. I'm just saying the next.
Okay. Here's a bag that I made. All I did, I went over to a fabric store and they sell rolls of vinyl. You know, you can use that for putting, you know, windows in your camper or whatever, rolls of vinyl. And I took some vinyl tape, vinyl glue, and I glued the 3 edges around. So I had a bag with one side open. And then I went to joewoodworker.com and I bought this fitting. And it's a fitting that just screws. If I can unscrew it, I can. It's a fitting that just screws right on there in 2 pieces. So you put, you know, the one side. Well, it's not going to come off. But anyway, you put the one side inside the bag, and you put the other side on the outside of the bag, and you screw it down, screw it together, and it's got a pipe threads on it. And you can screw a fitting on there. I got an air connector fitting at the, you know, big box store, not the blue one, Russ. And so I can attach my hose.
I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that when you said not the blue one, Russ.
But so that's all there is to it. And now the disadvantage to this.
What are you using to close up your end?
Do the same thing. Or you can take, what I was doing for a while, I was folding it over, and then I was taking a board and I was putting regular wood clamps along there. And it's not nearly as nice as putting the piece of tubing with the clip over the side. Works much better than using the pipe clamps, or the regular clamps. It worked though, you know. And the thing about this is nice is it's inexpensive. You could make yourself different sizes. On the other hand, if you can afford to get one of those nice pliable commercial bags, and you're doing any amount of this, then I would go ahead and get one. But if you just want to try things out and see if you like it, see if you want to just try your hand at it, this is a good cheap way to get in it and just see it'll work.
Jeff Robinson is saying, please put the vendor in the show notes.
Is he talking about the vendor for the?
I don't have a clue.
I'm
just
Joe Woodworker.
Joe Woodworker. So it's a website this guy's got, and he sells a lot of veneering equipment and tools, and he's got articles on there. Most of them are pretty good. So yeah, and he's a good resource. I'm gonna. 2 things I think I can show you guys before or you people, I should say. Sorry about that, Donna. So I heard you guys talking about using an iron, and that reminded me that you can do all kinds of stuff with an iron with veneer.
I've used an iron a lot on edges.
Yeah.
To veneer on the edges, yeah.
So you can take type 2 wood glue, and you can put it along the edge like this, and you let it dry. And I don't know if people have different ideas on the best way to do this, and I don't know which is best, honestly. I put it on there, and I usually put it on, I let it dry, and then I come back, put some on both sides. I put some on the edge, the thing that I'm going to glue it onto. And here's the exception. I said you don't put it on the veneer, but in this case you have to. You go ahead and put some glue on the veneer. Let this dry, or pretty much dry. And then you come back with an iron, and the iron will soften up the two layers of glue, and you can fuse them together, which glues this banding onto the edge of the board.
Iron on edge banding.
So I'm just going to set this aside. I'm going to show you how I do repairs on burls with a burl veneer. That's some walnut burl. It's really, really common that you get these holes in here. You know, let me see that. A piece of white paper. You know, you get holes in it where the knots pop out.
Yes.
And there's different ways of fixing that. You know, you've probably seen, or maybe you've seen, where the guys will take a piece of thin wall tubing, and they'll mash it up, and they'll make it an odd shape, and they'll sharpen it, and they'll punch out. They'll take a punch out of one area, and they'll punch and glue it back in. You can do something like that with I got one of these, some of these leather punches, you know, Harbor Freight leather punches, and you can put them in a drill, and you can just so I can pop out a little circle of veneer with this punch like that. And then I can come over to another area. Suppose that was a damaged area. And I can take that other piece I just cut out. And I can glue that in there like that to fix it. And of course, you want to orient the grain and do the best you can with that. I mean, that's something you can do. Another thing, for example, like with this knot here, when you're buying veneer for a project, it's like, well, kind of like any other wood, you buy more than you really need for the project, because you're going to need more than you need. So with something like this, I'll put tape across one side, and then I'll find another knot on a scrap piece, that's because the knot's a darker color, and I'll where did that go?
Somebody wanted to know if contact or Cross Timbers Woodcrafts wanted to know if contact adhesive could be used in place of glue in the vacuum bag.
No, I would not. I've never used contact. I was warned against it, and one of the things what I was told, I've never tried it. Someone told me don't do it, and I'd never tried. But what I was told is that the contact cement, it really is. It does move around a lot. It's rubber. It's rubbery stuff when it dries. It doesn't dry hard, at least not for a long, long time. And so you're better off to stay away from contact cement.
10-4.
So anyway, a lot of times you can find a knot that looks close to what popped out of there, or you can, like in this case, I got one. Let me bring this down a little again. I got this one here. It's bigger than the hole I'm trying, so I'll just cut some of that out of there. And it's, you know, it's brittle stuff. There's not much to it. Just hold it up there, and and fit it in the best you can. Yeah.
Has some gorgeous wood, by the way, or veneer.
Oh, yeah, this burl, man alive, you can do some fun stuff. So like I said, this stuff is so brittle and crumbly that I can actually just mush it in there. So it's like a powder almost.
Well, when you say that it's brittle, is that a downfall for some applications? I mean, is there something?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of this stuff is fragile and hard to work with. That's true. But you see now that's like, well, the veneer itself isn't that brittle, but the knots are quite brittle.
By the way, Charlie, I noticed you're ever so slightly starting to go out of frame with what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have to.
Yep. I don't know if it's you or the camera, but something's moving.
Yeah.
My little homemade camera tripod.
So do I.
So anyway, where is it there? Right there. That's the one that I just filled. And I'll do similar to like with that up. I'll put some glue inside of there. And then I might mush some more in there, fill it as well as I can. And again, same thing. I'll put the tape over the top of it, and that slows the drying of that glue down and allows the water in the glue time to swell the fibers of the repair to fill it as well as possible. And so then later on, when I want to use this, I can take that tape off of there, and that powder that I rubbed in there will be the glue will dry, and it will be a pretty good solid repair then. So this is this isn't going to dry fast enough. I should have did this earlier for this iron-on thing. I don't think I'm going to be able to demonstrate that here unless we're here for a long time.
We usually are.
Well, you know what? Actually, you're right. You're exactly
Just go with it, baby.
You're right. Oops, where am I? Here
Russ
I am.
took over my show last night, so I'm taking his over to go on for 8 hours if you need to.
We had so much fun last night. I mean, it was like,
yeah.
That's what it is, baby. Go ahead, Charlie. Sorry.
I'm just kind of killing time here right now. This is what I had in mind, was to show you the burl veneer and the crack repair, and if this stuff would dry, I could show you the iron-on. So,
hey, Charlie,
yes, sir.
Getting back to when you said you have to veneer both sides of your substrate. You don't have to use the same veneer, do you? You could use a cheaper veneer for one side and then your good veneer on the other.
Oh, for sure, for sure. You don't have to use the good stuff for the backside. You know, if it doesn't show, you don't care.
Now, does misting, going back to the brittleness, is that a word?
Yeah.
Does misting the area you're dealing with, do you think that would help?
No, I think it would get worse.
Oh, well, that's what I get for thinking.
And I'll show you. I can actually show you that right now. Let me find that.
I would think the glue would actually create a better bond between the wood because it would absorb in, or the veneer, because it absorb in if it's all dry and such. I've got a piano, the veneer all fell off of it, and I got a feeling when it was veneered that they didn't use glue, that they used, some type of contact cement or something, because it totally apart. So I would see where the glue would be better. But
they probably did back, if it was an older one back then, they didn't have the waterproof glues that we have now.
Yeah, it was. I think it's a 1919 piano.
Yeah, see, they didn't have the water
glue.
Yeah,
high glue. Yeah, well,
yeah, that's high glue.
Yeah.
It needs to be figured again.
I'm gonna tell you about that misting in the water. What I got a piece of I don't know what this stuff is. It's some kind of a I don't know, maybe it's an ash. I don't know what it is. But I got a little bit of water, and I'll just put my finger in my glass of water here.
High tech stuff right there, baby.
High tech, yeah.
Don't drink it because we don't know where your fingers.
Okay, Russ went through on his own show for once.
So,
well, he's been handling all that veneer and glue, so
I just touched that on there. And
Robbie Sidney says Jello glue. I don't know if
look how
that's a
it's
joke.
yeah, you can see.
a bubble.
Yeah, big time, big.
Yeah, and that's just a drop of glue on there, a drop of water, I mean, on there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's what I was thinking. That the stuff is so thin that if you add any minute amount, it's going to cause it to warp.
Right. Now, you're on the right track, though, with the softening it up. Where'd it go? I got some veneer softener here someplace.
Zach, I believe it's Zach Manring is out there, Southern.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Zach, how you doing?
Good. So you can buy this this kind of stuff, this veneer softener.
Oh, okay.
And this is good stuff. This is good stuff. You use it if you have to flatten the veneer. You see how that bubbled it up. Well, this is more got glycerin in it, and it doesn't have the same effect as water. So you can use that on there, and it'll soften the veneer, and it'll make it easier to work with. And it will still expand a little bit, but not nearly as much as water will.
Right.
And so that's a better choice if you have to do that. Now, the thing about this stuff, though, you put it on there, you have to let it dry too, and it take a long time for this stuff to dry. So if you're in a hurry, hopefully you might not want to use that. But it's excellent product, and if you're doing a lot of veneering, you're going to have some of that in your shop. I'm sure of it.
Charlie, do you make your own veneer?
Sometimes I do. Yeah, absolutely, I do sometimes. I've got a.
He has a veneer making machine.
Yeah, it's called a bandsaw. And I had this really nice piece of sycamore, and I want to make and there wasn't enough of it to do it solid out of the sycamore. So this is a piece of the frame. I haven't put it together yet. So, there's the sycamore, but it's really on a piece of poplar. And so I cut my own veneer off of that block of sycamore that I had. And so now I got this, what I think is a really nice looking picture frame someday.
if you take your meds, you won't be sycamore.
Yeah, oh boy, you.
They can't all be winners, I'm sorry.
Swinging on this, man.
I thought that was good.
Thank you, sir.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
We've had worse.
Yeah. So I think it's been at least 20 minutes. I can probably take that out of the bag. And hopefully.
Did anybody mark the time?
I can't hear you.
I said, has it been that long? Did anybody mark the time?
Oh, yeah, I have. It's been at least 20 minutes.
Okay.
I looked at the clock when I put it in there.
Going back to the bubbles in the veneer, let's say for example you got a veneer full of bubbles. Would you say that piece of veneer is now ruined, or is there a way to save it?
No, absolutely not, because you'll get veneer like that all the time. You'll have bubbles. Like I got this pieces here, and it's sometimes it's too wavy. This you could probably press this, but if it wasn't, that's what this stuff is typically used for. Is you'll spray this onto a piece of veneer, or however many you got, and then you take some paper towels. You put paper towel, veneer, paper towel, veneer, paper towel, veneer, and you'll clamp it in between a couple of boards like that, and you'll let it sit for a few days to dry, and that will help to take those things out. Another thing, you can actually iron the veneer to flatten it. If it's a small piece like this one here, I could just take a hot iron and put it on here, and I could iron this real slow. And the trick with, if you're going to iron it, is you come behind it with another board. So you're ironing like this. Well, if you guys can see me there, if I'm out of frame again or not.
The other way.
There, that's better. So you're ironing along, and then you follow it with another board like this. And what that's doing is that's absorbing the heat off of that iron, and so you're keeping it perfectly flat in a more or less kind of like in a press as it's drying, as it's cooling off, I mean. And because if you let it go while it's still warm, it might even get worse.
So you don't have to dampen it when you do that, or steam
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Some guys will spray the veneer softener on there, and they'll iron the veneer softener and dry it and do this at the same time. That's a good way to do it. I don't know if it's okay to breathe the fumes off of this from when I'm ironing it, though.
Katie Johnson wants to know, how hot does the iron need to be?
For something like, not all the way. You put it, I don't know what the temperature is. Put it up on maybe wool, or half, 3/4 of the way as hot as it'll go. Actually, no, you know what? We might be able to iron. Shit, that's it's still wet. So yeah, there's a lot of ways you can flatten it. And actually, I got a video, I think is a really fun way to do it if you got some extra cash, or you know a guy with an aluminum store. I did one. I borrowed this friend of mine, the guy, this Tom Shrunk, that's all he does is veneer work. He took a 4x8 sheet of aluminum, like 1/8" aluminum, and he cut it up in 12 by 16" pieces. And then he takes a stack of them and put them in the oven. And then he takes a board, makes some calls, and he takes his big sheet of veneer and he puts it on the board. And well, first you take that aluminum plate and put it there on top of the board. Then it puts some veneer on it, and it put aluminum plate and veneer, aluminum plate and veneer, and then he clamps the whole thing together in a big sandwich and lets it dry, and it will flatten the veneer. And when he did that, it was hot. It was like 400 degrees.
Wow. Will aluminium work?
Aluminum, yeah.
No, aluminium.
Oh no, that's just no good.
What the hell is aluminium?
It's similar to aluminum.
Yeah, kind of, sort of, but you know, it's that European aluminum. It's no good.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to bring that bag back up on top of the bench. It's kind of fun to watch it come out of the bag. Jump out of the way.
I think aluminum is similar to solder.
Yeah.
It was made in a laboratory.
Yeah. With the tomatoes, not the tomatoes.
I was going to go back real quick to the contact cement that we mentioned and talked about a little bit earlier, because I know a pretty good amount about contact cement. Contact cement is good for certain things, but there's a couple of problems with contact cement. Number one is the fact that you have to apply it to both surfaces of whatever you're going to glue, for number one. And then you have to sit there and wait for it to almost come to dry. And then you put it together. And the thing about it is, you cannot, there's no perfect way of doing this. You have to have tolerances, because once you stick it, once it makes contact, you're not getting it back apart. It's overdone with. So if, like, let's say you have a piece that's 12 inches by 12 inches, you better make the piece of, like, let's say you're doing Formica over that piece. So you better make the piece 12 or 13 or 14 inches by 14 inches to give you enough room so that if you don't get it lined up perfectly, it's okay, because you can trim off the excess. Once they touch, it's over. And I noticed that you have a little play when you attach that veneer in the beginning. It would move around a little bit to allow you to shift it into position. You're not going to have that if you use a contact.
Right. Chris Glitzos is saying 50-50 water and alcohol solution softens wood.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, there's all kinds of different formulas. The one that I heard, it may have alcohol, it may not. It was, I'm trying to remember, it was some portion of glycerin, white glue. I don't know if there was water in there or not. It was glycerin and white glue and, I don't know, something else. I just buy the commercial stuff. And
yeah, I mean, you could test it out, but yeah, alcohol is very good. I use a lot of alcohol when I'm doing like my food coloring dyes to help thin it, to make it penetrate deeper into the wood. And alcohol, number 2, won't raise the grain of wood as bad as water will.
Right. And likewise, it won't, you know, make it swell as much as water.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to shut that pump off and we'll see how this looks.
Oh, just real quick while he's doing that, I just want to, I think in the beginning, did we talk about that Shane wasn't going to be in here, that he stepped on did we tell everybody that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. So, well, apparently, while they were getting ready to go to the hospital, and take Shane up there to the hospital, Shelly slipped and fell.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so now she's in the hospital, and they're giving her x-rays. So.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts are with y'all, man. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's like, so you got Shane the Gimp.
Oh, my God.
And we can say that because he says he's okay now. I mean,
you're right. I can say it because he said he's all right. So, but he steps on a nail and he's got to go to the hospital. And then poor Shelly's trying to help him and get ready. And then she falls like, oh my God. Like, so yeah, I
blamed it on you because of your pallet challenge.
Yeah, I know. Because he stepped on a piece of pallet wood with a nail in it. So,
somewhere in there is a loophole for suing.
Yeah. I'll
trying to get out of it so he doesn't lose.
Yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to y'all too, guys. I hope everything's all right. I hope she's all right. So
I really hope she's all right. I like her.
Yeah, I know Shane's all right because he's already said, yeah, it's all right. It's no big deal. So
yeah. Okay, so anyway, you know, I got the thumb off. It's still holding a bit of a vacuum here, but this is the fun part when you pull the.
I see that. Isn't that cool?
It is cool. I really like it. So you pull that off and it starts to suck some air in there and pull the clamp off.
Are you presenting him, Russ?
I just flipped it.
Oh.
And
old man.
At the moment you said that.
So now here we are. Like I said, we're live. So what's going to happen? Pull this towel off.
Don't pull your towel off. This is a family show.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
your camera's starting to move again, sir.
Oh,
there you go.
Perfect. Okay. I didn't put enough wax on here. Okay. Now you can see that glue. See, it's kind of got a little haze over it.
Yep.
That glue got sucked right up through the veneer.
Wow.
And then.
Now that doesn't damage it, does it?
Well, you know, it's hard to stain veneer because this happens a lot. So, oops, I wasn't in the bag long enough. See, I got a bubble here. I should put this back in the bag or put a clamp over it.
You cannot have the bubbles.
What's that?
I told you it was. I told you didn't leave it in there long enough. Remember when you said, oh, it's been 20? I'm like,
Yeah, it wasn't long enough.
We cannot have the bubbles here.
You wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah. So, where'd it go? I don't know where it went. But I'm not going to show you taking the tape off then. Well, I'll show you the back side. I got a minute here. I'll put it back in the bag or something. But I'm going to take the tape off, a damp rag. You guys can't tell it's an old sock.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
Yeah, I've used that in the shop
So
before.
you just dampen it a little bit.
Oh, no bubble for you.
It's a rag. I don't throw any rags away, even my underwear. If they get used.
Can I vomit on the air, please?
Take a putty knife and you pretty much get it right off. Just like that.
Please make sure the underwear is clean.
Yeah, I do.
Always wear clean underwear in the shop. I'm sorry, but actually I'm not, because last night I have a lot of openings tonight too to jump in.
Yep. There's a button over here called "Throw Charlie Out of the Hangout," and I can hit.
That's never happened before.
Not Charlie Kocourek, Charlie Deer.
Well, see, this Charlie knows it's Kocourek, not Kocourek.
Well,
you go.
You know who I'm talking about.
Back in the bag here.
Just like Charlie, to stay on topic while we're talking crap.
Yeah.
You guys have all the fun you want. I just don't want to wreck this panel.
No, I understand. I totally agree. You spent too much time doing that to wreck that thing.
That's for an actual piece, Charlie? I thought it was just for show.
I tell you what, Charlie, let's go ahead. Just leave that under vacuum until the next show. We'll take it out.
Yeah.
Well, he did say that there was loads of different glues he could talk about. Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. Well, I think I should. This other thing with the glue on it, that edge banding is just about dry. I can show you that. And I will talk a little bit about glues, Jamie.
I'd also like to know about veneering without a bag and vacuum press.
There are a couple. Well, there's a couple of ways you can do that.
Hammer and nails.
Well, no, that would be a tough way to do it. I suppose you could.
It could be a fourth episode.
The chat is going to hell, just so you know.
It is. It's like wow.
And guess who steered it there?
Okay, so I put that back in the bag. I think you guys got the idea of that. Different kinds of glue. Well, you got the PVA type glues, the ones I showed you. I typically wouldn't use type 3 for. I can't get my camera back.
Oh, Russ.
Bad Charles. Bad Charles.
They're
Russ,
talking about
bad Russ.
That I went crazy on. I didn't say anything in any way, shape, or form naughty on Charles's show. First off, let me explain that. And number two, y'all guys don't
what I heard. That's not what I heard.
Y'all guys don't understand that I have kids, grandkids. My granddaughter and grandson watch this show. So that's one of the main reasons I definitely keep it as a PG-13.
And he's saying that they don't watch Charlie's show.
They don't watch your show. I'm sorry. They watch your grandfather.
Fine.
Grandfather. So, and so they I like to keep it PG-13 because I know sometimes my grandson loves to come in my shop and do YouTube videos and be around me. So he's probably sitting out there watching that. Gage is probably out there watching right now. So that's the reason I try to keep it as PG-13. And another thing, it's called, it's just, but it's my show. I can do what I want.
There you go.
Yeah. So,
there you go.
And it's always good to have a minion in it on. Hey, Mike.
Look at there.
There you go. Beedo.
Beedo, Beedo. Beedo, Beedo.
What is that,
Mike? Go back to what you were talking about now. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I was going to say that you got, you know, the PVA glues, you know, white glue, yellow glue, type 1, 2, 3. You can use all of them, I think. I would type 2 usually sets up a little faster, and I'd stay away from that personally because I think you want as much working time as you can get. You can use epoxy, but that's I wouldn't. You can use epoxy. I would say it's the last choice unless you had some real good reason to use it. But the glue that's really popular for veneering is urea formaldehyde. It's Unibond. Is it 800? Unibond 8000? What's the name of that? You guys know? Anyway, there's a Unibond 8000, but there are several different brands and kinds of this urea formaldehyde. Sometimes it's a powder and you have to mix water with it. Sometimes you buy it pre-made. There's the old traditional ones like the Unibond, I think it's 8000. That's got a fairly high amount of formaldehyde in it. And some of the newer one, there's one called ProBond. That's got a minimal amount of formaldehyde in it. I haven't used that very much. I have used it once or twice, but I try not to because it's formaldehyde and I don't have any special respirators for it, which is really what you should use.
Zach is asking, isn't a soy-based glue you can use? I mean, you didn't word it correctly, but that's what
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there. Who knows? There might be, but I don't know about that.
Tempo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you stick with what you know.
Yeah, I mean, I use the PVAs almost exclusively.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, even this this cold press when I got it. Oh, hold it up here. This is actually still just another PVA glue. Is
that particular one waterproof?
Good question. I don't know.
Zach says Pure Bond uses a soy-based glue, and Jeff Robinson is saying, would you ever use super glue?
Would ever use what?
Super glue.
No. Well, wait a minute. That's not true. I would. If I had a small piece I was trying to patch in, I might use super glue.
Yeah, heck, by the time you spread that out over a 4 foot by 4 foot piece to try to glue your veneer on it, it's done dry.
Well, well, like I said, if you're just doing a patch or a little tiny small piece, yeah, you can use that, sure.
Yeah, I can't say what that would turn into, but it starts with cluster.
Yeah.
Hi, Gabe.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, you start on the top of the 4 foot piece, you get to the bottom, and then you stick your veneer on it. You go like,
it's like three stooges.
It's not bonding for some reason. I wonder why.
Well, here, let me fire up the iron, and we will. I think we can iron that piece on now. And speaking of the iron, what I do? Drop something. Anyway, speaking of the iron, you can use a hot iron. Like when I had that bubble, if it would have, if I didn't see it fast enough, or and I had a bubble on a completed panel, you can hot iron sometimes, and it's just like with the edge banding. You know, you're softening up that glue, and you can run the iron over there and then set a board on top of it while it's cooling. And a lot of times you can fix a panel that's already done that has a problem with an iron like that. And I've had really good luck doing it.
I got a quick scenario and question for you, and you may or may not know this. I did a lot of, over the years, I've done a lot of wallpapering.
Yeah.
And inevitably, you will have a bubble in the wallpaper.
Yep.
You won't find it until you, most of the bubbles in wallpaper, after the glue dries, it'll suck them dry. You know, they'll go out. But my point is, sometimes you'll have one that you just missed and you come back the next day and all of it's dry. Now, what we used to do on wallpaper was we used to take an X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
And we used to cut a slit in that bubble, then we would inject glue back underneath it and then push it back down and hold it and let it dry, and it would work perfect. You'd never know what I mean. Could you do something like that similar to a nasty bubble on a piece of veneer? Could you?
You probably could. Yeah, actually, for sure you could. I would try doing it with the iron first, and like I say, I got to close the door again.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I just thought as soon as
you're right. That is definitely something I would try if I had that issue.
Especially if you went with the grain of the wood, so that therefore you wouldn't see the slit once it pushed back down and dried in. So
that's right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right, Russ. That would work.
Yeah,
hopefully it would work. I mean, it's a good option to try.
Right.
So anyway, this stuff isn't quite perfectly dry, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. So I got a little strip of veneer that I put some glue on, and I got my iron up here, and like I said, it's not quite dry, but let's see if it works anyway. So I just put that on there, and normally I'd get something that was closer to the right size, not be this far over, but
got quiet. I thought the show.
I just read what Zach said over there, and I was going to type it in, but I'll say it. Zach, yeah, feel free to thumbs up me and thumbs down Charles. That'll be great.
I think he was referring to on your show. Kenny thumbs me down. Yeah, you should give me a thumbs down on Russ's show. Just saying.
Go over to Charles's show and thumbs down, and then come over here and thumbs up. That'll be fantastic.
And I'd say your grandkids are watching. What are they going to learn about Grandpa?
I didn't say that. He did. I'm just repeating what he said.
But you're encouraging it. You think you got friends.
I love you, Charles.
I love you too.
With friends like this, who needs enemies?
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
So there it is. It worked.
Yeah, it looks good.
So Charlie, when you trim that veneer, do you use a router or do you use one of those little bitty tools?
I wouldn't do either one, probably. I would probably use a knife.
Lay it down
or
flat.
Saw.
Just a knife.
Yeah, and cut it from the back side.
Yeah.
I mean, typically, you're not going to be able to do it quite like this, but.
Well, yeah, that's why I wondered, because like on a tabletop, I had an oak plywood tabletop that I veneered around. That'd be kind of hard to do the knife, I guess.
Yeah.
Charles, if you want to learn to scroll, just be on my every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. over on Twitch, and I'll teach you.
Read my latest comment. He's referring to chat banter. Yeah.
So anyway, but no, your question though, I'd probably use a knife, and if it was on a table where I couldn't do it like that, I'd just be real careful. I'd use a knife. I wouldn't use a router for just a little thin piece of veneer. And those little plastic slitter things that I've seen, I tried it once.
Yeah.
And what happened is it caught the grain and it went. Well, my camera's moving again. It caught the grain and it pulled right into the panel, and that was a one and only time I threw it away.
Gotcha. Well, I've had some good experiences, but yeah.
You have, huh? You've had good luck with them?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the actual veneer is, I don't know, I want to say it's either thicker or softer, maybe. I don't know.
Well, it makes a big difference. This veneer is, man, it's different. I mean, one to the next is different.
Well, yeah. Also, when you use that tool, you're not supposed to like squeeze it right down on a board. You're supposed to do a couple passes and get down close, and then.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that was a long time ago. I was kind of new at it, and I tried it in one pass. I thought, oh, you're just supposed to zoop, and that's what I did, and it didn't work.
Yeah, and an old timer taught me the faster you go, the slower you get there.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's a lot of truth in that. You know, another thing with this edge band, you know, the veneer, I mean, it's a 42nd of an inch thick if you're lucky, and it's not much. And what some guys will do is they'll just put 2 or 3 different layers of it on there, and then the edge is, you got a stronger edge, and you can kind of ease it off a little more, and less likely to be damaged down the road. So that's just something to think about if you're ever doing that.
Mark Lindsay wanted to know, or said it uses a file for edge banding. Would that work with veneer?
You mean for cleaning it up?
I assume, since we were talking about the edging. Hell, I don't know.
Well, you could. I mean, I got a little bit. I probably wouldn't, but you could. I got a little bit sticking up on right here where I cut it. You know, you could kind of clean that up with a file, but I'd probably use a sanding block or something instead.
Yeah, a file works because I've done a lot of Formica in my life. A file works great on Formica, but I don't think I would use it on veneer because Formica can take the roughness, or, you know, the stiffness of the file because it's a hard material. We used to run our fingers down the. And actually, you have to be careful because Formica will cut the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but run our hands down and then take the file and run it across and file the edges a little bit to smoothen them up so they wouldn't cut you. But I don't know if I would want to try that on veneer.
Now, although Zach is being somewhat facetious, he's asking if you can CNC veneer, but I would imagine if it's adhered to a surface good enough, you probably could. But it depends on the veneer, I guess.
Actually, what guys are doing with like with marquetry, you know, some of these places will do commercial shops will have a lot of marquetry, and they'll sell a table and it'll be the same marquetry design, and a lot of that's done with a laser now, a CNC laser. Yeah, and as far as using a router bit, you could. You just have to figure out a good way to hold it so you could zip a router on there without it just going to pieces. But
yeah,
I'm sure there's some smart guy out there who figured out how to do it.
I was going to say I kind of shy away from something as thin as veneer and a router just don't sound like it would turn out good. It would just
probably too aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you had, I mean, if just hypothetically, if you had a big CNC with a nice spoil board and a commercial vacuum pump under there to hold it down,
right?
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. If it was adhered to the substrate very, very well, I don't have the problem with that. But I'm just talking about using a router to do anything with normal veneering, like the edge banding and stuff like that. I think a router would tear that.
No, I wouldn't. No, I normally wouldn't.
Yeah, it would tear it up.
Yeah,
but here comes the problem: is if you didn't get a little piece of that veneer with enough glue on it, and the router come across it, I can see it tearing a big chunk out of it.
Right, and then it's back to what Mike said a minute ago. You know, the faster you go, the longer it takes.
Yeah. So it's something. It'd be something to experiment with, though. I think that's a good idea. You could experiment with it because you could use a cheap piece of MDF underneath instead of a more expensive wood, and then you wouldn't. And it, you
could.
Yeah. Hey, Zach, why don't you do this? I know you've got a CNC. Why don't you experiment with us and then report back to us, and I'll have you on the show, and you can tell us how it worked.
Hey, love it.
Well, he was going to be on my show, but
oh, really? I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Well, it could be on both, you know.
Yeah, we're a family. Dysfunctional, but we're a family.
He can be on my show just to report how the CNC versus veneer worked.
Well, let's make it obvious. He'd probably rather be on your show. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I was just like, you know, I that is a good thought, though. I might even have to try that myself. So, are you going to leave that piece in there longer?
Well, you know what? Let me take it out. Good point. I'll take it out now because it's been a while again.
I know what Zach's thinking. Don't fight over me, guys. Real quickly, I mean, this is a total empty plug, but Zach is, I believe, the founder of, if I'm wrong, correct me, but Southern Woodworkers. It's a pretty big find. I know Russ Meadows is a member. I'm not sure if anybody else on the panel because I haven't looked at the panel because I've been on the chat page.
Well, it looks pretty good now, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks real good.
Now you said back, because I wanted to ask you this question before, but you had wanted to stick it back in the bag. So when you do get that where the glue comes up through the veneer somewhat, because you said you can kind of see where that happened, what do you do about that?
Oh, I just sand it off and it'll look fine.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, so I just sand that and it'll look fine.
Right, you sand it and then you can put your clear coat over the top of it.
Yep, exactly.
That's what I wanted to know.
Now,
inquiring minds needed to know.
That's right. Now that we got it here, I can never wait to get the tape off. You should wait.
Yeah, actually, I'm interested in seeing this with the tape off because I know what you've been doing for the last 2 or 3 times to get this thing ready to this point. So,
let's see.
I mean,
really, I should give it more time, but I'm not gonna.
We're gonna walk on the wild side, just rip it off.
We're rebels.
That's right.
We have leather on our tricycles.
That worst is going to go on the burn pile. So what?
Decorative firewood, baby.
Hey, I got a whole full of that stuff.
You know, when you bury somebody, it's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We came from dust and we're go back to dust. So,
yep.
Turn it into sawdust and send it to Russ.
Yeah.
Been there and done that.
Yeah, send him the sawdust. He loves it.
He's still singing it. Something. He's gonna regret it again.
Hey, Russ,
yes.
you might want to present him again.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Got everybody telling me how to run my show.
Exactly.
I had him presented. I clicked on him and I was focused in on him.
Yeah, you can just click on him. But the nice thing about presenting is it puts all of us out of the way, so the whole screen is nothing but him.
Well, presenting doesn't do that. You have to hide the participants, which I already did because I'm a dang good co-host.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, hush. Your children are watching. Caramba, chingón. Back to you, Charlie.
Looking good, huh?
Yeah, it does. It looks sharp. I like that. Man, I could see, making cabinet doors like that and with the banding and everything, or how you did the little band. That would look so sharp.
Yep, drawer faces.
Yep, that would look sharp. Mark Lindsay wants to know how long we've been married, Charles.
Too long.
Too long.
Zach is saying, fight. All I need is a pair of clippers and it's over. These shows wouldn't be, I mean, yes, people like Charlie make it awesome, but the way we get along, I mean, if you want to call it getting along, it just makes the shows that much more entertaining, in my opinion.
I don't call it getting along. I think that the next time I see you, I'm going to put a...
He's going to kiss his other cheek.
No, I'm about to say, we got picture evidence of how you get when you see people. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Zach is saying you need to cut your beard for charity.
Yep, and you need to attach super glue to your lips, and we'd all a lot better off.
In other words, hold your breath. And Mark Lindsay is saying that's getting along, huh?
Yeah, it is.
You should see us when we fight. By God.
Wow, Charlie, that is just like awesome.
That is.
There you go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This what you're seeing there is where that glue came up,
Right.
paint, but that'll sand off.
Right.
Practically wipe right off now.
That'll just take a light sanding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
like about a 220 or a 320 sandpaper, maybe.
Well, most of it's coming off right now.
Yeah. That is awesome.
You wiping that with water or mineral spirits?
This is just a wet stock. Normally I wouldn't do this, but I mean, I'm impatient, but I'm not that impatient. On the other hand, I do want to show it off here on the show. So
no, that is just phenomenal.
And of course, that'll look better when it's, cleaned up some more. But
yeah,
certainly get the idea. Which ways look better, like that? No.
Your camera moved again, sir.
Oh,
that's kind of almost that's like,
it's like an eagle.
Yeah,
that way.
Eagle, Batman, almost kind of emblem, something. That's
it reminds me of my therapist showing.
Yeah, the Rorschach
ink blots.
The Rorschachs. Yes, it is. Yeah,
it's so pretty. I can't take my eyes off it. That is gorgeous. So I'll give you my address after the show.
Other way, real quick. Let's see the other side of the way. The other way. No.
Turn it
flip it around.
Flip it around on the upper side.
Which orientation?
Like that way. Yeah. Lay it down for a second.
That is like.
That looks like
an evil villain's logo. That's cool.
It's weird.
Charlie, I'm going to give you my address after the show for that. I can say I was there.
And the thing is with these veneers is, you start putting them together and you get all of these cool patterns. I mean, it's not that hard to come up with, you put them together. It's like, oh, you didn't even see it until you did it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to do that.
So, Jamie, you got some ideas now?
None of which we can repeat on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Jamie took so long to answer, I thought he was asleep.
The good thing is I've got loads of different colours as well, so yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun.
Good.
Mark Lindsay said that looks like the evil eye. In other words, the evil eye. What was it on?
With the swirl around here like this. Yeah.
The Eye of Sargon, or
yeah.
Mark Lindsay wants to know if you have a preferred finish for something like that.
Yeah, what would you finish that with? Mark Lindsay wants, do you have a preferred finish? In other words, what would you put on that right now as a finish? Polyurethane or?
Well, poly is not the preferred finish. I mean, it's probably the one I use the most, but it's not the preferred finish. So I like Waterlux, and shellac, of course. I mean, everybody likes shellac. It's just Waterlux is easier to use.
How about lacquer?
I don't use much. I don't have a spray gun, and I don't work with much lacquer. No.
Shellac sounds like a Jewish bad word.
You're shellac. I'm gonna give you a shellacking, and don't you forget it.
Yeah.
But now you could now something that small, Charlie. You could use the can lacquer.
Oh, you're right. Yes, sure you could. You could spray it on there with a spray can, or they even have spray shellac now, I think.
Yes, they have spray shellac. And the reason I say the spray lacquer is because the lacquer that you spray is actually identical to what you would put on as like if you brushed it on there. I know they changed the formulations. Like spray paint in a can is not the same as regular paint, in other words.
Okay.
So they're a little bit different formulations, but lacquer is lacquer, whether it be in the spray can or in the in a can.
Okay.
And so is shellac. Shellac is the same way. It's the same thing we're talking about. It's the same, but they have to change the formulations on the paint somewhat when they put it into. Let me stop presenting you. So when they put it into the can, it's not quite the same as
No.
The paint that you get out of an open can is not the same as what you get. If you want to test that experiment, take a spray can, because I've had a few spray cans where the top quit working on it, and I've actually poked a hole in it. Start off with a small hole so you can relieve the pressure, and then poke the hole in and then poured it out into a cup, and I tried painting with it.
Yeah.
Oh, you make nothing but a mess. Oh yeah, it dries so quick that you really hardly can't even brush. I mean, you take one brush stroke and try to come back, and it's already dried.
Yeah. So I never thought about that, but I can see what you're saying. It makes sense.
It's a different formulation from the paint. The spray can paint is a different thing than the paint that you get in the can. So
Jim Dockrell is saying oil and wax would be good too. Mark Lindsay is saying I bet a true oil finish would look amazing. Dave Gatton says great job, Charlie.
Thanks,
Southern
Dave.
Ginger says love my general finishes.
Yeah, general make a lot of good products.
They're excellent.
Yeah, Mark Lindsay says the stuff in the can is thinned way down.
Yeah, it's thin way down, but it's got some kind of super.
He means the spray can.
Yeah, the spray can's got some kind of super duper. Well, it's almost like if you've done a lot of spraying, which I have in my life, when you're using oil-based enamels, you can buy something that's called Japan dryer. You ever heard of that?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, a Japan, and what it does is you can take an oil, like if you're wanting something to tack real quick where you can put several coats on it, or you're having a problem with let's put it this way, if you're having a problem when it's cool and when you're spraying something, naturally it doesn't set as quick when it's cool, you can add what is called Japan dryer to your spray gun, your quart sprayer, and it'll make the paint tack quicker, it'll dry quicker than what it normally would, which will prevent runs and also, make it tack quicker so you can put multiple coats on it. So it's almost like the spray can formulation has a Japan dryer in it because it dries so quick compared to what you would buy out of a can off the shelf that you can use for brushing. I hope everybody understood that.
We got some big air noise from somebody, and it ain't me.
Yeah, I hear that. Oh, it comes from John Schaffner. You have your air conditioner on, John? Yeah, there's no wonder. Do you have a question? Because, I mean, you can answer it. Go ahead and ask it. Oh.
I think he just was out and came back in.
Oh, well, if anybody have any questions, Russ Meadows, I see kind of stepped out for a second.
When are you coming back for part 4?
Part 4?
Yeah, I had an hour-and-a-half show last night, and Russ had to beat it by having you on again.
Flow troll is something totally different, Mark Lindsay. That makes the paint, when you're having problems with it flowing across the surface, especially when you're brushing, you would use something like Flow Troll to actually make the paint flow, and you wouldn't see as many brush marks in it. So it's a little bit different than Japan dryer.
I personally would actually like to see a 4th episode with veneering without bag and compressor or vacuum pump.
That's
like using a veneer press or whatever.
Asked about that earlier about how would you do it without a bag? It's just clamps and cawls it's the same thing. You just have you'd have to put a board over it, and you'd have to just clamp it all over and press it on there with mechanical pressure as opposed to the atmospheric pressure.
Yeah, they make
the exact same thing, except for you'd be using clamps, or they even have veneer presses. The old time, but maybe before they had vacuum pumps, they'd have the great big huge press with screws all over it, and it was heavy duty, and they'd slide the board in and crank all these clamps down across the whole face of the panel, and that's how they would do it.
Right. Yeah, back to they were talking about the Flow Troll. A Flow Troll, when it first came out, was strictly for oil-based paints. And then later on, they formulated one for acrylic water-based paints also. So, and I know this because I've dealt with it. I actually have a can of Flow Troll out there in my shop that I can go pull out. And the one that I have, though, is strictly for oil-based. It's not for the... Another thing about Flow Troll that a lot of people don't know, it is an excellent rust preventer. You can take you can take your cast iron tables and sand them and clean them real good, and put a coat of that Flow Troll over the top of it. And now it takes like 48 hours for it to dry and cure but after that 48 hours, it makes a nice hard finish, and it'll keep it from rusting.
Huh. I was all excited because I thought you said a rust preventer.
How sturdy is it? How sturdy is it? How sturdy is it? Does it scratch easy or?
I tried it. I've used it a few times as that, just to experiment with it, and I really didn't care for it because, yes, it did kind of have a tendency to scratch or chip or whatever, and that's the reason I went back to the just using the plain old Minwax that Charlie was using in the very beginning. That seems to me it's the easiest to apply. It's the you can take a rag with some mineral spray. I usually like to use alcohol. But you can take a rag with some alcohol on it and wipe it across there. It'll remove it. Then you can put another coat on it.
Jim Dockrell is saying something that just went off the screen. You can make a wipe-on water-based poly with Floetrol and regular water-based poly.
Yeah, yep. You can do that too. Yep. That was a very, very, very good product. We used to use it a lot because some of your oil-based paints, when we were doing a lot of painting, we were locked on Charlie the whole time. But anyway, some of your oil-based paints from different brands of manufacturers, from Glidden to Porter's to Sherman-Williams, their formulations are a little bit different. And some of the oil-based paints for doing like interior door trim would have a tendency to tack real quick. Glidden's was one of those that the paint would want to tack a little too fast when you're doing a door jam, and would cause actually brush marks or laps, or not a door jam, I'm sorry, a door. It would actually cause lap marks or brush marks because you would pull back into the dry area, and we used to put a little bit of that Floetrol into the paint, which would smooth it up and slow the tack down so that you wouldn't get the brush marks and the laps into it. So I've done a bunch. I've done automotive painting, and I've done house painting, and used a lot of painting products over the years. So,
and he was knee high to a grasshopper.
Yeah, there's not a lot, and I'm not bragging, but there's not a lot you can teach me about painting. I've done a lot of it over the years.
He's bragging.
Oil base and finishing, even finishing and finishing furniture. In other words, I've done a lot of that stuff too. So it just comes from, my brother is still, he's fixing to retire right now. He paints homes and refurnishes furniture, and has been doing it for 50 years. So, and that's what we used to all do is that. Plus my dad, he got into the painting aspect in the home work, so to speak, and I got into more of the carpentry. I used to build the houses, and he used to paint them. Guys, do we have any more questions out there?
No. Well, Dave Gatton says these marathon shows are screwing with my bedtime. I just woke up, so I'm going to be up all night.
Yeah. Well, but when you get on something like this, it's kind of like you can't stop until you're done. And Charlie pulled that thing out of the bag the first time, and it wasn't ready.
So. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you were able to, stick around so everybody could see how it looks, because, hey, I'm pretty happy with that thing. It looks good.
Somebody says you used to use lead as paint base too. Yes, lead has been out of paint for a long time.
Yes, it has. And you can still get leaded paint.
Yes.
But it's not, yeah.
Yeah. And, that's kind of sad, too, in a way. And the reason I say that is because lead was one of the things in paint that made the colors so vibrant. For instance, when you're talking about reds or yellows, when you had lead on them, there were very vibrant reds, very vibrant yellows. Once you took the lead out, reds tend to bleed or fade quicker, and yellows actually are now hard. If you get a certain shades of yellow, it's almost impossible to cover something with it. You've got to put. I had somebody that brought me something a while back and wanted in a shade of yellow, and they brought me the color yellow that they wanted to use. and it was a frame, and I had to make a frame for this picture for them. And it took me like 8 or 9 coats of that yellow to cover where you couldn't see through it and see the wood underneath. Oh. It's almost transparent. And that's one of the reasons is because they took the lead out of paint. Had that been lead in the paint or in the color of that paint and the color yellow, you wouldn't have had that problem. So there was nothing better for sealing a gas tank than red lead primer. Yes, you're right, Mark. All right, so I think we're rocking down. Do you have anything else you want to say, Charles? Or I mean, no. Charlie?
No, I'm like I said, I'm glad that we got to stick it out and see how this thing looked. I appreciate you having me back on here, Russ. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, Charlie, thank you for making his show worth watching.
I appreciate that, Charles. Just
that was Charles's last show. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you don't.
Hey, Russ bans everybody on my show and his.
But no, just saying that, yes, it has been fantastic. I myself personally have learned so much about veneering. It's one of those things that I have never done, and you've taught me in 3 shows. You've taught me a vast amount of knowledge, so I appreciate that very much.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks.
A lot of compliments in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, and yep, they're all great, informative show. Charlie's been a great guest, so yeah, they're all over there talking about you. And yeah, I mean, anybody should be able to go back and these 3 shows and pretty much figure out how to do veneering.
Yeah,
and to elaborate on what Katie said, she says you're good, and I know I joke a lot, but she says you're good at explanation, and a lot of people that try to teach will say things as if you know more than you do, but you have a way of doing it without making people feel stupid. You just sort of teach them as if they're beginners, and there's nothing wrong with that, but elementary terms and just being basic with your explanations goes a long way. So kudos to you, sir.
Anybody else got anything they want to add, take away, slap Charlie, or talk about it?
I want to add real quick is, I've
slap Charlie.
Talked about going on, and I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel with more advanced stuff on doing book matching and that. So if you're interested in that, check that out.
Jack Bench Woodworking or something like
that. Yeah.
Jack Bench Woodworking over on YouTube, guys. And I'll actually make sure I don't know if I did it on the last one. I think I did the first one. I'll make sure I go back and put your link in all 3 of these videos so people can find it.
I would have already done that, Charlie, just saying.
Yeah, right.
I believe you, Charles.
Yeah.
Well, good. Hey, Russ. Family show. Gage is watching.
So, y'all. Wait until I get you after hours.
Oh, help me, people. Y'all are my witnesses.
I never saw nothing.
Art, love you too, Jamie. Art Day says, very good show tonight. And everybody else is talking about other stuff.
Yeah, anybody, Jamie, John, Donna, Al, got anything?
Well, I do have some veneer out in my shop I've had for probably about a year, and now I know what I can do with it.
There you go.
I've got a question, Russ. Back when we were talking about glue, did you mean to make a pun out of it? You said something like, you always stick with the glue that you know, or something like that?
Yeah, I heard that. I was going to say something.
I'm surprised you didn't catch that.
I caught it. I just was trying to be mature for once in my life.
I had to bring it up.
All right, guys. Great. Thank you once again, Charlie, for being on here. And
you're welcome.
Veneering it. Fantastic. Wonderful. I really do appreciate what you've done. We don't have anything else, and all we have is one more thing to do, and that is
mute Russ.
Sing it, Russ. Sing it.
Just give me sawdust. Lots of sawdust all around me and everywhere.
But not for my birthday.
Flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. Just don't send me any more for my birthday, please.
Y'all
Good
pray
night,
for
everybody, and God bless.
Hey, thanks a lot. See you guys.
Hey,
Bye, everyone.